Two completely different things.
George, advice for young people like yourself?
Well, first, I would tell them, find what you want to become, what you want to do. And long term, use certain things maybe sometimes you don't love, but where you want to propel yourself in the future. Not what your parent, your friend wants you to become, what you want to become. So once you find it, you cannot doing it by yourself. Everything that is big achievement in life, we cannot doing it by ourselves. So what I would say is, second thing is, try to build up your team, and try to build up your team to be able to achieve your goal of people that are competent and people that you trust. You need both competency and trust. I see a lot of people sometimes in business, for example, they hire people that they trust, but they turns out to be incompetent. So now you have to fire a friend, or otherwise your business is going down. It's the same problem if you do the opposite. You hire someone that is competent, but you cannot trust. He's gonna screw you, you know? So it's very important to stay away from the negative, build up your team, people you trust and that are competent. And I would say the third one is to work hard, to sacrifice yourself. Yeah, you have to go through hell sometime, but you have to see the light at the end of it, you know, to keep your dream in mind is going to give you the motivation to go through the tough time. It's nothing easy. To go work is nothing you can accomplish without hard work. The fourth one, I would say, to invest on yourself constantly. If you do not invest on yourself, on whatever you are, in which business and sport, the game will catch up to you. For example, if you become champion at something, and if you stop improving, the other guys that are trying to be champion, they're going to catch up to you. So you need to invest on yourself. And most athletes, they make the mistake when they start to having money, they buy luxury stuff. And that's one thing I didn't do. When I start making money, I was investing on traveling to New York, training with John, Gordon, and the guys to learn what is new in the game of jiu-jitsu. I used to go in Thailand, train Muay Thai, in Los Angeles to perfect my boxing skill. So instead of taking that money to buy me jewelry, cars, and to do what a lot of guys do, because it's a mistake, I invested on myself, because I know there were people coming, they didn't want my place, so I didn't want them to catch me. And the last one, I would say, it seems weird, I would say, to give back. And it's not because I'm a nice guy. And it's not that, I don't say that to look good. I say that when you make it, it creates opportunity where you can help certain group of people. But when I say give back, not give back to everybody, to anybody. Give back only to the cause that you want. I give back, not because I'm a nice guy. It's kind of selfish. I only give back to the people that I want to give back. Because I give back to them, and I know that if I'm more successful, I'm going to be able to give back to people I loved, the cause that count for me. So it brings me more motivation, because I don't compete for myself anymore. I compete to help people I love in a way. So when you reach the top in your game, you need to find new motivation. If you're satisfied, is the end of it. Your success will go down. So you need to find new motivation. What can motivate you? You know, what do you want? Oh, I want to help this, so I need to be successful. I want to, you know, you need to find reason. What do you want to do with your success? So when I say give back, it's not because I'm necessarily. It's not to look like a nice guy. It's to keep your motivation to be able to keep climbing the ladder even more.
That's beautiful, George. John?
First off, the two responses given so far cover, I think, the most important things already. Gordon talked about the need for an underlying passion and enjoyment. If you don't have that, you're not going to have the longevity that's required. In order to build skills, which is ultimately everything's going to come down to your ability to build skills, you've got to have some kind of underlying passion and enjoyment, which will keep you in the game long enough to build world championship skills. It's going to take a minimum of 5 years, and quite possibly considerably longer than that. George talked about the idea of community. You're not going to make it by yourself. So you've got to be able to build people around you and build a trusting environment around you to develop those skills. What I would add to the excellent points that both already raised alludes to what I said at the start of this podcast. You've got to be able to identify some kind of undervalued elements in whatever industry you're in and show the world what their true value is. In addition, you can't go through life doing the same things as everybody else and expecting to get different results. This is straightforwardly irrational, and worse, it's even arrogant. It's essentially the statement that I'm going to do the same thing as everyone else, but I believe I'm different. And so they'll work for me, but they didn't work for everyone else. That's like saying, no, I'm special. No, you're not special. We're all pretty much the same. And in order to be special, you're going to have to exhibit skills that other people simply don't have. Thirdly, I would say if you want to become something truly impressive in life, you've got to be able to focus on one or two things that you do better than anyone else in your industry. You can't learn everything, but you can get one or two skills, and the more innovative those skills are, the better, and you can truly excel at them. For example, at the peak of his career, no one in the world was better than Georges St-Pierre at integrating striking and takedowns. No one in the world was better at integrating grappling and striking on the ground. He had two things that he could confidently say he was the best in the world at. Was he the best at every MMA skill? Nope. But he was absolutely the best at those two skills. And those two skills were skills which he used throughout his career to win the vast majority of his matches. Gordon Ryan, at the onset of his career, could confidently say, there's no one in the world better than me at leg locks. He could also say, there's no one better in the world than me at late stage defense to submission holds across the board. As he went through his career, he started adding more and more elements. It's gotten to an extraordinary degree now where you could absolutely say he's the best at guard passing, the best at guard retention. The list just keeps going on. And that goes back to what Gordon said earlier about keeping things interesting over time, because we're always introducing new skill sets. The day you start saying, I'm satisfied with my skill set, is the day you get bored. And boredom to an athlete is a precursor to death by boredom. As long as you're still growing in those directions, you'll stay in the game for very long periods of time. So the main thing I would add to these statements by Gordon and George is this idea of finding something which is currently undervalued and showing the world what its true value is. Understanding that you can't just use the same training methodologies as everyone else and somehow expect to be different from everyone else. You've got to almost every great rise in human civilization, whether it be groups of people or individuals, required some kind of innovation. You've got to look for that new angle. Okay, Georges St-Pierre found it with shootboxing early on in his career. Gordon Ryan found it with leg locks early on in his career, and they branched out from that angle. Add to this the idea that you want to become the absolute best in the world in your industry in one or two things that make a difference. Find out what they are and focus on those things, and you'll go far.